Welcome to WP-Tonic episode 194. Today we're talking useful and interesting plugins for WordPress. And before we get into today's topic, I want to introduce the panel. First, we have a guest, Adam. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name's Adam, and you can find me at WPCrafter.com, where I make WordPress videos for non-techies. I have I think the largest YouTube channel around WordPress videos and tutorials in terms of minutes. There are some with more videos than mine, but you can find a video from me being uploaded every day there at WordPress, just WPCrafter.com.
Excellent. And we have Sally.
Good morning. My name is Sally Getch, and I am the organizer of the East Bay WordPress meetup in Oakland, California. And my company is WP Fangirl, and you will no doubt see my cats on this on this show because they always come and demand attention.
Meow. Don't they all?
Yes, I am continually being upstaged.
And then we got Jackie.
Hey, I'm Jackie D'Elia. I am a web developer in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I also am the host of Rethink.fm, a WordPress podcast.
An excellent one at that.
Thank you, John.
Oh, of course. And then the man of the hour, Jonathan.
Oh, hi there, folks. I'm the founder of WP-Tonic. We're a WordPress support maintenance company. We're your trusted partner, aren't we, John?
Trusted as always. And myself, John Locke, my business is Lockdown Design, providing custom WordPress development and SEO for mid-sized businesses. Before we get into the main topic of useful plugins, there's a couple of news stories that we have in the world of WordPress. Top of mind is 4.8 is about to drop. A couple of things are going to change. There's going to be some enhanced functionality around the widgets. You'll be able to have a visual editor as well as a text editor, and it looks like the video widget is going to get some enhancements. And I wanted to ask Adam, what are you most excited about in 4.8?
Well, I mean, I think on this show today, I might end up being more of the devil's advocate on a lot of these things, because I really think WordPress has missed the boat on a lot of things. You know, for instance, these widgets. I don't use widgets. I mean, yes, most people that have a website for a business, they're not really blogging, which is where you see a lot of widgets. And on their pages, they're probably going to use a page builder. So a lot of these 4.8 features, I think they're kind of trying to play catch up. And I don't know if we were going to talk about later some other stuff with that WordPress.com hosting. They're just missing the boat on a lot of these things. So I think, you know, even with the Gutenberg, which I actually like the Gutenberg, for posts, but I wonder if there was some numbers, maybe you guys can enlighten me. Are there any numbers on how many people use WordPress as a blogging platform versus just to have a business website?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, they ask sort of that question in the kind of annual survey about people who are using WordPress for blogging versus for, you know, something else or both. But I don't know if we have any really good numbers. You can talk to Morton about our lack of adequate statistics on how WordPress is actually used.
Telemetry.
Yes.
I have not done a site for a blog that I can remember in the past few years, at least. Every site I've done is a business site. Primarily not focused on the blog portion. It's an add-on. They'll use it, but it is just one item on a menu. The primary focus is a brochure site or an e-commerce site. Those would be where I'm seeing most of the activity.
Yes, and would you say that most new websites, they're actually now really this huge adoption of page builders? We're using page builders, which you use the elements in the page builder, not necessarily widgets.
Yep, and I agree.
I hope I didn't just ruin the whole show.
You did not.
You
No,
did.
you did not ruin the whole show.
Okay, show's over.
Yes,
We go home.
I haven't yet let
I'm finished in the WordPress community.
Yes, I haven't yet let any of my
Cool.
clients unleash page builders.
I do think, though, that, things like Beaver Builder are gaining momentum and offering a way for people to quickly design and publish pages and posts. I do still think, though, that they are playing catch up on the widget area. Most of us are using that for configuring sidebars and footer widgets and things like that. So that's doesn't play a predominant role. But what this does is eliminate the need to have to install additional plugins, updating and maintaining those. These are quick, easy things that are in core, and they solve some problems for people when they do want to put something in a sidebar widget, specifically like a text widget or an image or a video. Doing that today without 4.8 is clunky. It's difficult for an end user to do. Now they'll be able to just embed a video in there. They'll be able to easily add a link into the text widget with the visual editor. That'll make things much easier. You don't need to know any HTML to bold, to underline, to just do some normal editing and formatting of your text widget. So I think those things, they are playing catch up, but for us as developers, it's going to be a nice thing to have that just baked right into WordPress and not having to manage additional plugins to provide that functionality.
I think anything that makes the user experience a little bit easier is good. And I think the problem with WordPress, and I don't know how the rest of the panel, Adam, Jonathan, Sally, how you feel about this, but with WordPress, it's kind of like the blind man describing the elephant. Everybody touches WordPress in a different way. For some people, it's a theme forest theme. For some people, it's a custom-built site. For some people, it's WordPress.com. And so it's really tricky because some people use page builders and rely on them and have great success, and then other people build sites from a pre-built theme, and then some people go the fully custom route.
Yeah, it depends
that's
a lot
actually very insightful there. You're absolutely right on that one.
Yeah, it depends on what people want. I mean, I have some clients who blog a lot. They produce a lot of content, and it's not the only part of their site, but it's the one they interact with most because their sort of basic information about themselves doesn't necessarily change a lot. And they don't want to be trying to mess with, laying things out or having a bunch of different page layouts. And, there are other clients where, they want to sort of tinker with the way things look all the time. And those are people for whom a page builder might be a good idea or a disaster, depending on, how well they actually understand anything about design. It's a fairly incremental release, but that's what we've seen with WordPress for a long time. So it's I'm glad that we have these new widgets, which we should have had years ago. That they are making some improvements. And I think for some people it's a disappointment that, we haven't got the new Gutenberg editor all, worked up yet. But, that's going to take longer to actually really make it work and still maintain accessibility and other kinds of issues with it. And, that will be noteworthy when it happens. But, it's sort of this should make a few things better and easier. And that's good. Not front page news, but not a bad thing.
Yeah, I will concede that that point that you were making, John, about everybody does use WordPress in a different way, and there's different solutions that you can get in a WordPress website. I'm looking at a theme right now that is like a listing directory theme, and there are a lot of widgets in this theme in order to pull it off. It serves a specific purpose, and it does it really well, and it leverages a lot of that basic WordPress functionality, such as widgets, no page builder, stuff like that. So yes, you are right. Everybody uses it different. That should be the next survey. How the heck do you use this thing?
Definitely. Jonathan, any thoughts on 4.8?
Well, you kind of took the words out of my mouth, John. I was thinking of the same thing. It was really interesting what Adam said about it, because I kind of agree 50% with what Adam said, and 50% what Jackie's view is. And it's really linked to what you said, John. It really depends. Because what's great having Adam on the show, and hopefully he will enjoy the experience and come back one day, is there's all kind of little silos of WordPress users, isn't there? Little worlds of users. And we discussed this, John, haven't we? And they live in their own little bubble, don't they? And they think, and like Adam said, you know, with his particular audience, a lot of them are DIY people and page builders, so is a really big part of that. And they probably don't utilize the widgets as much as some other areas, don't they, John?
Yeah, definitely. I think that something that we mentioned earlier in this is kind of leads into our second news story, which is WordPress.com is now experimenting with allowing business plan customers to install third-party themes and plugins. For the longest time, it was very restricted, like what you could install on WordPress.com, which is basically they host it, and now they're loosening the restrictions. And I wanted to ask Adam, do you see this as Automatic and WordPress.com taking a bolder step into becoming a traditional hosting service?
Well, I think that they are making moves to monetize what they have done, this huge audience, and they're trying to, they've got to, right? They have a fiduciary responsibility to their investors to make money. And you know, so many folks do not know the difference between what you get at WordPress.com or what you get at WordPress.org. They just don't even know. They just go straight to WordPress.com. Then they get disappointed when they find out I can't install that plugin and I can't install this plugin. So it makes sense, you know, for them. But, you know, the interesting part I was actually thinking about that is actually it's a very good priced offering. I think it was like $25 per month or something like that for this plan. But is that going to galvanize the massive amounts of money they're making referring people to these hosting companies? I mean, they're making probably millions and millions of dollars by just referring people to the Bluehost, SiteGround, and the like, because they got a special deal, I'm sure. So it's kind of interesting for them to make that kind of a, well, actually, I don't know. That must be separate. I wonder who do you think actually gets all those commissions? Is it WordPress.org, the organization, because it's advertised on WordPress.org, or is it WordPress.com at Automatic, the parent company, that actually cashes in on those millions of dollars? That's actually a good
inquiring minds want to know.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking about that. Yes, but I do think that they'd be foolish not to try to earn money from the massive amount of traffic that they have. You know, it would be foolish to not do that. But it is kind of catch up.
Yeah, it's you know, I'm sure they're going to, because of just the massive number of people they have on WordPress.com. You know, the reason that they didn't have plugins for so long was just like there was no way you could control having everything work in the environment. So I'm sure they're going to make it a fairly restricted list of available plugins, and you're still
Jetpack.
They've already got all the Jetpack stuff built into WordPress.com, but you know, it's not going to give you the total freedom that you have if you host WordPress somewhere else, but I think it's going to be good for a number of people where, you know, they just are not up to managing their updates or their security and yet you can't talk them into, you know, hiring somebody like WP-Tonic to do that for them. So, you know, I think, you know, it will be helpful for some people. It will be insufficient for other people. But so far, at least, they've always made it pretty easy to transition from, you know, .com to .org when people are ready to take that step.
So does anybody know, because I don't hang out in WordPress.com very often to know exactly what's going on, but it looks like now you might be able to, on the business plan, install the WooCommerce plugin and all of that.
I'm sure
functionality.
WooCommerce will be one of the ones you can install because they, Automatic bought them for a reason.
Right. So it sounds like that's a kind of a testing the waters about putting together a managed hosting plan that could compete with Squarespace and Shopify and others that are offering e-commerce capabilities built into that managed hosting.
I'm pretty sure those are the competitors they're really after versus trying to, compete with managed WordPress hosting companies that, people are comparing the Squarespace and the Shopify to WordPress.com as an option for a hosted solution for a website.
I wonder how support's going to work on that, because when the end user installs a plugin, it causes a problem. They go to the host and say, I've got this problem with my hosting account. Why don't you fix it? I wonder what that's going to be like for these guys, because I'm assuming it's not multi-site anymore like the traditional WordPress.com. I mean, I think I don't know, can you offer users the ability to install plugins on a multi-site install?
You can, although the WordPress.com architecture is not just a standard multi-site install. They've already done a bunch of different stuff with it. But you can give your site administrators the ability to install plugins. It's something that the super admin can control.
I wonder if it's like in a separate container, though, that one site won't affect another, because that's why you have all those multi-site controls, so that one person doesn't screw the whole thing up, which I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm just installing things.
I'm sure they've figured out how to do it before they started telling people they were going to offer it.
Or they tested it.
Yes, but I'm not, not very much information has come out yet.
Well, what's going to be interesting is, what do you have to do to get on that list of a few approved plugins? So it's going to have to be something like this to get on that approved list.
Sponsor all the WordCamps.
And cut a $500,000 check, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
And then I wonder if they're going to auto install, which I actually do not like. When you go with one of the managed WordPress providers and they auto install, like GoDaddy, don't they put in like opt-in monster? Now they put Beaver Builder, and they put all these things automatically. Don't they do some of that?
I haven't had somebody open a new account for that, but they all that I've seen GoDaddy automatically install is basically their GoDaddy caching, and they install training videos.
Yeah.
And so I think the rest of it is, they're making that available, but I'm pretty sure they're with their Beaver Builder deal, they're probably making that available to people who don't have the managed WordPress, who are using WordPress on the shared hosting.
We're missing Mendel already. We have to have him back, won't we?
Yeah.
I really think it's really interesting step. But I agree with Adam. I think they had to go down this road. When it comes to the actual list of plugins, I think it's going to be a similar situation to WP Engine and some of the other. There'll be a list which they won't allow you to install. If I'm not sure if they would go down the route that there's an approved list. By everything what Matt has said over the years, I'd be really surprised if they would go down that route. But I wouldn't be at all surprised if they didn't go down the WP Engine and they had a disapproved list of plugins that you weren't allowed to install. Would you agree with that, John?
Yes, I definitely think that the caching plugins and things like Broken Link Checker will probably not be allowed. And the reason why is because it's a strain on the, it queries everything. Yeah.
Right. I mean, WP Engine explains why they don't allow certain things, that either they're insanely resource intensive or they clash with things that WP Engine is already doing for that stuff, like your caching and your security and those kinds of things. Yes, BC, I know.
I will say one thing. I installed the WordPress beta today to just have a peek at it, and it did not install the Hello Dolly plugin. And I don't know if that's intentional.
Yes.
No. I don't know if it's intentional, or it's because it's a beta. They just didn't package it all up together yet. But I did, when I installed it, all I saw was the Akismet plugin, and that was all that was there. And I was like, that's odd.
Right. But it did come with 2017.
Yes, but I did find today there is there's something you can put in your config file, your WP config file, that will stop it from installing all the other versions of the 20 whatever themes, like all the way down to 2012.
Normally when you install a new, I can't remember how many versions you get when you downloaded it when you download it to install, but yes, 3 versions. It's not that many. And it doesn't, like if you've installed an older version of WordPress and you upgrade, it doesn't give you the latest 20 whatever themes. You actually have to go and put those in if you want them available as, fallbacks when you're troubleshooting.
Yeah, I like just being able to say, no thanks, no additional themes. That was great.
Yeah. Now, if only somebody would tell all those people who use, those one-click installers, the hosting companies that somehow bundle in like 5,000 themes that you're not going to use.
Yep.
Exactly.
Mojo. Anyway.
I hate that Mojo thing.
Yeah.
When I was saying GoDaddy, I actually meant HostGator, because they're the ones that dump all this stuff in there that you just have to then go and, yeah, I know, right?
All I can say is, dear God.
HostGator.
Yes.
That one, and I also noticed too, Bluehost. I think it's almost positive it was Bluehost, and if I'm not, I'm sorry, but I tweeted it out earlier this week. They just installed some kind of caching plugin in there that it's filled with stuff in this folder. There's just all kinds of stuff. And I was looking at a client site that's on Bluehost, and I was like, where did all this stuff come from? And sure enough, they didn't ask apparently or anything. They just decided to install all of that. So
that actually makes a lot of sense, Jackie, because I have
yeah, I got tripped up on Bluehost caching for their WordPress clients, and it's a little bit of a pain to clear out when you're developing and you need to see if something's changed.
Well, the worst thing is for a user's perspective on GoDaddy, they don't know what the heck caching is. All they know is I put in a new address or a new phone number and it doesn't work. I can't tell you how many. I probably will get maybe 50 comments per week of someone saying, "Oh, it doesn't work. Oh, it doesn't work." And it's always my first question: what host? GoDaddy. Clear your cache. What is cache?
Yeah.
It's
Right.
just, I don't know what they're thinking. Is it that hard to make it if someone clicks the update or save to clear the cache? Anyway.
No, it's not that hard.
No, but that is the problem with this one, was that it doesn't clear out very easily. So people are complaining that they're updating content on a page and then it isn't visible.
Actually, just to finish off before we go to our main topic, actually you're touching something which in upcoming episodes we'll probably touch on a bit more, is I can only see this situation becoming more and more obvious, i.e. hosting companies providing very separate technologies that differentialize themselves in the market, which makes sense for them, where it becomes, what is WordPress? I think in the next 18 months you're going to see more and more of the hosting companies and the other big players, and in a way WordPress.com is part of this, is they provide what they see as extra value, extra technology, but moves them away from a pure WordPress install where you have control. Would you agree with that, John, or do you think I'm just waffling?
I think they're adding a lot of bells and whistles, but in a way they're making it to where people either have to have a developer on staff or a consultancy or someone helping them. There's no way that they can navigate all of it by themselves.
Right. And they're also blurring the lines between managed hosting and just hosting. So if you're getting a managed host, you're going to expect them to install some things and do, like WP Engine. I know they're doing stuff, but they have a reason for doing it, and the site works well. When you just get hosting and they're installing things without asking you, and you're supposed to be managing, what's on your server, that's where the lines get blurred. And I think it should be an opt-in. SiteGround does that well. They have their caching and things, but you go there and turn it on. So, you have to go into the panel and turn it on. They're not littering it up with things that they've decided to install. So, and it was Bluehost. I did check my Twitter feed. So yes, it was them.
Well, thank you. You solved a mystery that happened to me this week. Yes. So there you go. As suspected. With that, we're going to go to our break. And when we're going to come back, we're going to be talking useful WordPress plugins that you might not know about, but that can help you manage your site. See you after the jump. We're coming back from the break, and with our panel, we're talking useful WordPress plugins. Everybody knows some of the most useful plugins out there. Yoast, Gravity Forms, they get mentioned a lot. But I want to ask our panel, starting with Adam, what are some plugins that you've encountered that provide some functionality that you found very useful that people may not know about?
Well, has anyone heard about a plugin called Real-Time Find and Replace?
Haven't heard of that one.
I think possibly I have. I haven't used it though, so tell us more.
Well, maybe Jonathan could give some insight after I say what it does, if it's going to cause problems for people. But I know from my own usage, it's a solution. So essentially what it does is for the WordPress user, not for power users that know where everything is that needs to be changed. But so you're just an average user and you use a business website and you're changing your fax number or something like that. What does the user think? I don't know where the heck to change this fax number, right? I don't know if it's in a widget because we just got done talking about widgets. They don't know where the heck this stuff is. So real-time find and replace, essentially, you can go to the front end of your website, highlight, put it in your clipboard, then go into this real-time find and replace, paste it, and then paste what you want it to be replaced with in real time. And then you click on save. And so what happens is when the page renders, it will find that string, the phone number, and replace it in real time. This works a lot with these free themes that have these convoluted footers, where they're trying to get their link up in there, and you've got to be a coding PhD to know how the heck to change that thing. Real-time find and replace does it, no problem. I even have a video on it, by the way.
I thought you might.
Yes, I would. The only
it's free, by the way. Sorry, it's free.
Yes, the only problem I would see with that is that it's not actually updating your database.
No, it's not.
So it's it adds that extra processing time every time the page loads, and that may be a very minimal amount of time. But I wonder why they can't make a version that actually would update your database, and then you wouldn't have to keep it running.
Well, there's a lot of situations where you say you purchase a theme that might be a solution, right? So I was talking about that whole solution for having business listings, a business directory listing site. And say there's a term in there that's hard-coded. Maybe it's in
if there's a term in there that's hard-coded and not translatable, the developer is doing it wrong.
No. There probably are translatable, but that adds an extra layer of complexity for a user when this is just, instead of saying all states, say all categories, and it's just a copy and paste real easy thing. It makes it a lot easier. But yes, even some very reputable themes, just finding the translation string, it's not an easy thing. What am I talking about? Jobify is a very popular job WordPress theme for having a job board. It's hard to change a lot of those things.
Yeah, that is one thing where I think developers should think more about it, because I know that there are plugins that create custom post types basically, and they have filters in them and options to control those filters so that you can say, okay, I don't want to call these events, I want to call them something else.
Yes.
And, you know, I seem to remember Jackie did that with her plugin for the communities. And I, you know, but yeah, if somebody's using something where that isn't an option for them, or where, well, there's the filter, but they would have to write code for it and they have no idea how to do that, I can definitely see that would be useful.
And those footer situations.
Yeah, those things where, you know, who knows what it is or where it's coming from. Okay, I had a whole screen full of plugins.
There's just to go back to that search and replace, there's a handy plugin that the folks at Delicious Brains did, and it's free. It's a Better Search Replace. So that one does go through your database and find every instance of a string and replace it for you. So it will permanently do that for you, which is great. I use that one a lot, and it's reliable.
But for the end user, that's a dangerous plugin because it's permanent.
Yes, they could
talking
mess
like,
something up.
No, they accidentally will.
Yes, that is the thing. If it could be screwed up, it will be screwed up.
Yes.
And that goes for us and not just our clients.
That's true, right? Jeez. And now let's go into our nightmare stories. No.
Yes.
We don't go there.
We did have a show on our favorite mistakes. So
176.
I would have had a lot to contribute to that one.
Jackie, I know you had a list. Why don't you go ahead and go through the list?
I'll quickly pick over some ones that I did. Couple that one, I won't do them in order, but the one that I really like is the Web Accessibility Toolkit that Rachel Cherry did. And that's awesome because it puts it right at the bottom left of your install on the front end, and you can click on that and you can check your contrast ratios. You can check whether you have labels on all your forms and fields, and just some basic accessibility checks where you don't have to go and use some third party and put your URL in there. It's just real handy even when you are developing locally to just, if you want to just check, make sure you, especially on contrast ratios, I use it a lot for that, just to double check to see if I'm meeting basic guidelines for accessibility. And it's got a lot of other cool little features in there. That is a really good one to have if you're not sure if your site's accessible and you just want to know. Another one great for developers is the Kint PHP Debugger plugin that Tanya Mork did from Know the Code. That's a great free plugin. I have solved so many problems using that plugin, just tracing when writing some code and trying to figure out what object has what values in there and being able to see it. So check that one out. That's really handy. SVG support is awesome because it will inline your SVGs for you. It allows you to upload your SVGs in the media library. Now that also goes with a caveat that, you have to know where your SVGs are coming from, and, it tries to screen them to make sure that there isn't any malicious code in there, but you are loading things into your database. So just be aware of where you are getting your SVGs from, because they are code. But it is awesome.
And please use that. I saw somebody's, a company had built these people a theme, and the SVG for their logo was hard-coded into their template. Because that's going to be so easy to change if you update your logo, right?
Yeah, no.
Just shoot me.
Yes. So that's a really good plugin, though. I use that quite a bit. And it has an option. If you add a class to, say you're using an image tag to embed your SVG, and you add a class, which is style-SVG is what it is, it will embed inline that entire SVG code for you so that you can do things with it with CSS. So that's just from a developer perspective. So some things for end users, I never really have a lot. Okay, well, the HTML widget text, it easily adds HTML to widget titles, is real handy if you want to add breaks and links into a widget title. That's a pretty cool little plugin. The image widget, I really like. That's from Modern Tribe. And that one makes it easy to add images to widget, but 4.8 is probably going to, for some people, it'll be just baked right into 4.8 and you won't need that. I think Rob New did the WP Featherlight plugin, which is a nice, very light jQuery plugin for doing light boxes. And I also use that a lot for putting up videos in a light box so that you can watch them. So that's a real handy plugin there. If you want to add subtitles below your title on your post and pages, WP Subtitle is really good. I love that one. And then on the paid side, Super Side Me by Robin Cornett is a great plugin if you want to have an easy mobile menu for your site. It's a slide out menu on the side. It's great. It's easy to configure. And then, of course, my all-time favorite of every plugin is Migrate DB Pro, because I could not work without that.
Have you tested Mergebot yet?
I am on the beta program for Mergebot, and I am using it. It's like looking really good. I mean, it's not ready to use on a production site.
It's not ready for prime time yet, but yeah,
it is. This is the dream.
Right. I found it confusing until I realized that basically this is just version control for your database, and the steps you have to go through are pretty much the same as that, get, add,
for code.
Commit.
Yeah, for version control for code. So, but it will solve a problem when it's finally all done. It's going to solve a problem where you have a client that's continuing to work on the site that you are building a new version of, right? And so you've got the copy of their database and you're in there working and adding menus and doing things, and all the while they're still working on their existing site. This gives you a way to merge the database for changes between both ends.
And to resolve conflicts in an individual.
And to resolve conflicts and everything. So that, I'm really looking forward to that. But of course, Migrate DB Pro is awesome if you just want to push your database to another site. It's it's great. And it also does your media files for you too, if you have the add-on for that. And that covers my presentation.
It's quite a list there.
Yeah, I've done those.
Sally, I know you have some too.
Yes, I was actually attempting to be prepared for the show today. I expect a pat on the head. So on the sort of more development end of things, lately I have been using WP Advanced Database Cleaner, the Pro version, because I've been doing some revising and cleaning up. I mean, I did a new version of the eastbaywp.com website. And I found, that's on Pagely, where they don't give you access to your database, and I copied everything down to a local server, and I looked at the database and thought, oh my God, there were more than 60 database tables, and about half of them were from plugins that were no longer installed, things I'd tried out on the site, and so yeah, I mean, just dropping tables is relatively easy if you have even a cursory knowledge of PHP MyAdmin. But the other thing is like getting rid of orphan options, and if your options table is really bloated, that can slow down your site. And so it has a way of trying to, detect orphan options and identify them. Now it's not 100% accurate, so you need to make like multiple backups of your database while you are doing that level of cleanup. So it's like, kids, don't try this at home, ask your developer to use it. But it's very helpful, and also in terms of cleanup stuff, one that I put in there is term management tools. I find that on a lot of sites that have been around for a while, the tags and the categories are just this seething mass of chaos.
Oh, yes.
And the thing is that your tags and your categories are a great opportunity for you to increase your SEO through your internal links, but only if you know how to use them. The term management tools lets you combine tags or categories, or convert something from a tag to a category to a custom taxonomy, and that's very useful. One I don't have on the list but should mention in conjunction with that is the bulk custom field editor. So I had installed Masher, which is a great end user plugin for one of my clients, but I wanted to be able to go back and update it gives you a place to put a custom Facebook image and a custom Pinterest image for all your posts. And I wanted to go back and update them because on this particular site, it's a standard image. It's basically a version of the podcast album art that goes with each episode. But the square for the album art is the wrong shape for sharing on Facebook, for sharing on Pinterest. And I wanted to go back and update it all with a specially created, Pinterest vertical and Facebook horizontal version. And that was a matter of putting the correct image ID basically into the right custom fields. The Mashare people told me what fields to edit. And then I was able to go through with the bulk field editor and put those images in, and presto, I did not have to go back through each of those, 500 and something episodes and update those images. So there are times when that's going to be useful for you. And then a couple of things that are sort of less common that I've used. Simple alert for old posts. If you blog on a topic like WordPress where stuff changes a lot, you may want to let people know if your post is old enough that, the tutorial you've written might be outdated. And it just puts a little notice. You can tell it what the notice says on your post about, this is older than X. You may want to look for something newer. Or, anything like that where something might be outdated. Image regenerate and select crop. If you're annoyed at the fact that WordPress generates 50,000 different thumbnails of every single image you upload, you can use this to go through and say for what post type, what you need, what image sizes, and delete the ones you don't want. It's not as interesting as I can't remember the name of it. There's a plugin also by Delicious Brains that instead of having you create a bunch of special thumbnail sizes, lets you specify and generate on the fly images. But this one is something that's easier to use without technical knowledge, and it will just clear out some of that clutter in your media library. I like the anti-spam plugin by WebVitali. It's free. It blocks all automated, bot submitted spam without you ever seeing it. So it's not like you have, a bunch of spam stuff in your database waiting for you to delete it. And I like the rich text excerpts plugin because a lot of the themes I use, I want to show excerpts and not just, cut the thing off at a certain level. So, this lets you actually include, a link or bold or whatever in your excerpt when you're writing it. And then something I've used some recently is the widget options plugin, which is one of those plugins that lets you say, which sidebar to show your widget on.
Awesome.
But one of the other things that I like about it is that it lets you hide the widget title. So if you don't want your widget title to show, but you also don't want to look in your widget management panel and wonder what the heck is that widget with no title, it lets you do that, which is a nice thing about it. And it has different things it can do, like, show this widget only on mobile, only on desktop, which I haven't explored as much. I don't like their nag message. I wrote a sort of snarky post about it, but other than that, I do think it's a good plugin. So I could go on and on, but that's enough.
No, I'm actually working on a little plugin to help solve that problem with what Sally was just talking about with the widget, where you don't want it to show up on the front end, so you leave it blank. But then when you look in your widget panel, you have no idea. You're looking at the sidebar widgets, and you're like, just says text, 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 and you have no idea what's in there. So I've got a little bit of code that will let you wrap it in a bracket or something so that it doesn't output visually, but does to screen reader text, so that semantically it keeps your HTML properly structured, but it's just not visible, but it is read out to screen readers. So, and that's something pretty easy that you can write a filter for to do. But that bothers me that you only have two options: either not, leave it blank, or and then it's semantically it's not correct, or you put something in there and then you're trying to do a display none and not show it. So I think another option would be to do a screen reader. I wish the widgets just had a little box at the bottom to just say screen reader for the widget title. That would be a great little thing to write, so that you could just check that. And then this way it would output it as a screen reader text, but and still be visible in the dashboard to see what's going on.
Jonathan.
I'm so ashamed I haven't really done research.
Okay.
Someone slipped him one in the comments.
I'll just mention a couple, but I in no way. I'm a great lover of Comic Cache Pro as a caching plugin. I've been using it for a while. When it comes to caching plugins, I think everybody got the ones that they like, and I'm not saying this is better or worse, but they also provide really fantastic support as well. And I've been using it for quite a while. I think also another one that I think is really quite good is Rollback.
That is a good one. Yes.
That enables you, and it comes from a group of, I think it's 3 developers, and they're all really well known in the WordPress community. So, and it's kept up to date, and it saved my bacon a few times.
That's our homies, WordPress.
Yes. I also like I've kind of used this. I do like the oh god, I forgot. He's been on the podcast, hasn't he, John? The security audit plugin from Robert. Got his name. I put that on a few. It'll be in the show notes, folks. I apologise. And I do like the WP Simple Pay Lite. I've used that on a couple of people's websites. It's a really lightweight, and you can buy a pro version, and it's really quite a simple way of taking credit card details. I think that's quite a good one. And to kind of finish off, we installed it on the WP-Tonic website, is Yoast SEO the Premier. And
that's a good one, by the way.
I think it is worth the money now if you're really serious about your on-site SEO. I think for $69, it's probably worth the money now, folks. So that's my little ones, John. You're silent.
Yeah, sorry about that. Just keeping up with all these notes. Oh yeah, Jackie says advanced custom fields.
I mean, everybody loves that. But I know we're talking about.
I was going for what people hadn't heard of.
I know.
ACF Pro is definitely a go-to tool.
And actually, I was just looking at that Yoast Premium one yesterday, and I was thinking about it. So I'm glad you shared that, because now you've kind of pushed me to give it a whirl.
Yes. What do you think, John? We're starting to use it, aren't we, John, on the Tonic site? Because it comes up with, it helps with your internal link structure, which is important. One thing I was going to ask the panel is, do you know any plugins? One is linked to experience with another website I got. A really good plugin that controls what is shown in the desktop, the back end on the
dashboard. I've used the menu editor, the like admin menu editor. Let me see what it's called. I have it on several sites, but where there's just such a complexity of stuff that even at the administrator level, you want to rearrange it. And then you can also say, don't show this to people of, that level of access. So let me just see where that goes.
Well, you're looking that up, Sally. I want to mention a couple that I kind of like. I also like ACF, Advanced Custom Fields, WP Rollback. That's a great one. But one that I want to mention for replacing strings, one that I found that works if you just need to replace like a couple strings and you're not a developer necessarily, and you don't want to go in and do like translate files. It's a plugin called Say What that's in the WordPress repo. Basically, all you'll need to do is install the plugin, type in what text you're trying to replace. If it's a translatable string, include the text domain, which is usually the name of the plugin. as it appears in your plugin directory, and then what you want the text changed to, and it works like a charm in 99.99% of the time. Another one that I found insanely useful is called post type order.
Yeah.
So if you're setting up a site for a client or whatever, and you've got the different post types, say like team members, and you're putting them all in. Well, we want this guy to be up at top, or we want the president, the lady up at the top. So instead of changing all the dates, you can just take this plugin, install it, tell it what post types you want to have it hidden or shown on, and basically you can drag and drop. You can do this for any type post type, posts, any other custom post types that you have in there. So you can drag and drop the order, and it affects it like in the archives. So you don't need to, sit there and change dates. You can just drag.
Yeah, I've used
just used that yesterday,
and similar plugins for things where clients wanted to be able to, drag and drop their team members or whatever into.
What's that one called, John?
Into a particular order.
Post types order.
Okay.
And we will link all of this up in show notes. And one that I wanted to mention, it's mostly I just use it for developing. If you're and this is not for the novice, this is for a developer. It's 2014 accordion menu. You can find it in GitHub. If you want to throw an accordion menu in there and you're developing from something like underscores, basically you can put that in there, swap out 2014 in the code for the name of the theme that you're using, and voila, you've got an accordion menu. It's pretty awesome. And I wanted to ask Adam, do you have any other plugins that we haven't covered?
Yes, I do, as a matter of fact.
Nice.
I'm like,
waiting.
only made it through one. Only made it through one. Okay. I had an idea once. Why don't page builders work with any theme for full width rows and stuff like that? So I talked to a guy and I said, hey, can you make this for me? You can download it for free. It's full width plugin. You just search for full width page builder at the repository. We just launched it, I think maybe a month ago. We already have 4,000 active installs. It'll work with any page builder to any theme. So if you're using Genesis and you don't want to use Genesis Dam Buster and you want to use Elementor, it'll just make every page builder work with every well-coded theme. Let me give a caveat. If it's some old outdated theme, it might not work, but you can let us know and we'll try to add compatibility. That one, and a new one that I've been waiting to use, but why? Anyways, Imagify. Have you guys heard of Imagify?
Yes.
Yeah, we got to add that kind of stuff. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So essentially, I'll just give a little breakdown. What it does is it makes your images smaller, not in size, but in size for downloading without losing any quality. Now, there's a lot of plugins that do this. They all have like a subscription plan, but theirs is very generous. What you get for free, 25 megabytes of compression per month. And right. I just used it on my entire site. My entire site was only 40 megabytes. So it'll cover your butt.
Right. And you can buy like a pack of
yes.
Like a $10 add-on pack if you're like doing all the images on an existing site that has a lot of images, and because it does the compression not on your own server, it doesn't run into the problems like you can't use the www on WP Engine because it's very resource intensive. Imagify is made by the same people who do WP Rocket.
Yes, which just had a beta release just now. I'm using it anyway. But that's what I would add. I think actually, a lot of these things should be in core. I think like some of the performance optimization, like image compression, that should be in the core. I mean, now you've got these managed hosts putting it in their stack because, I mean, who doesn't want their websites, their clients' websites to run, or their customers' websites to run really fast? So anyways.
And the Sally, the admin plugin, I know you put it in chat, but
yes, it's called Admin Menu Editor, and it lets you rearrange all of the items in your admin menu, and you can tell it, who should see what. I think you might have to pay for the what level person gets to see what. I don't remember that, but so far I've only used the free version, and it just has tidied up the the admin interface. You can collect things into areas that they belong in. Then,
well, it's also to stop to have some control over what is shown, especially if a client is got admin rights and they're going in and they can see like well, all various rubbish that people kind of put on to promote a plugin, and some of it can worry the client, can't it? Like, you know, you need to update this plugin straight away, blah blah blah.
Right? Yes, and I mean it's hard to turn off update notices for any kind of admin level, but then you might want to use something like roles and capabilities to give them a high level of access without actually making them an administrator, and that might spare them from some of the notifications.
Well, yeah, that you just touched something else, haven't you? Because that's a great plugin. I actually got the pro version of that, and I've got the gentleman's name that developed that plugin, and he's been supporting it for years, hasn't he? And it's another whole area which some people criticize WordPress that it hasn't, compared to some other CRMs, it hasn't got that really granular level of control over different user types, hasn't it, Sally?
It's true. This is one thing that, you know, that like Joomla actually does pretty well. There is something. There are a couple of somethings, but, you know, one of them is different user access rules, and you know, Drupal likewise being aimed at a more enterprise kind of environment where a lot of different sort of people are going to need access of different kinds. But yes, there are several plugins to help.
I would recommend his, because he's been, I forgot his name, help me out, Sally. But that plugin's been supported for a long while, hasn't it?
Yeah. No, there are a few different ones that will do this, and you should definitely consider them. So
I
want to add one last
link in there.
Oh, sorry.
Is that the one for roles and capabilities? Just check that link and see if that is the one.
Right. I'm terrible with things.
I want to add one last thing to this discussion about these WordPress.org repository plugins. If you're using one of these plugins and you find it useful, take 5 minutes and go and give them a positive review, a 5-star review. It helps them out. They're not, most of them, there's no way of them making money from their plugin. They're not doing it for that. They're doing it for it to give back. And I find that when you give them a positive review, it's going to help them with the visibility of their plugin. But also, it's just a way to say thank you. I don't think I know I do leave reviews, but I could leave more. And I think everybody should be in the habit of leaving good reviews for these plugins that make a difference for you.
Yeah, we're having a contributor day at our meetup in August, and I'm going to encourage people who are not going, you know, that as a thing for people who aren't going to be like trying to write code patches to do, review plugins that you like or themes that you like. Because it's you know, it's time consuming, and I do feel compelled to do it occasionally. And part of the reason that I don't do it more is that, you know, I'm going to write you like a 3-page review about everything to do with your plugin. And I can't seem to stop myself from doing reviews that way. So, you know, it's definitely a contribution that's appreciated by developers.
Well, I think that we've provided a lot of plugins to check out. We're going to link those up in show notes. We're going to end the regular portion of the show, and we might have 10 minutes or so of bonus content. But for now, we're going to let everybody tell us where they can find them. Jackie, where do we find you? Anything you want to promote?
You can find me at jackiedelia.com or over at rethink.fm. And Morten Rand Hendrickson will be my next guest on June 1st.
Awesome.
And
good.
the recent episode this week was with Rachel Andrew, and we were talking about CSS Grid.
Yes,
check it out.
I just listened to that. Definitely go.
Yeah, it was great, actually.
Thanks.
Give it a thumbs up.
We give it 5 stars.
Yeah. Adam, how do we get a hold of you, and anything you want to promote?
Yeah, you can just Google WP Crafter, go to WPCrafter.com, and then click through to the YouTube channel. I recently just put out a video series on the new plugin Beaver Themer. It's on YouTube. It's free. And last month, I just finished a 20 video series on how to create an online course. And we're using free stuff all the way through. And there's some custom-made things in there that I give away as well.
Cool. Sally, how do we get a hold of you? Anything
You can find me at WPFangirl.com, where I'm at Sally Getch on Twitter. And our next East Bay WordPress meetup is this Sunday at 1 p.m. And we have Ben Byrne talking about multi-site. So you can go to meetup.com if you live in the Bay Area, and just type in WordPress and you'll find our meetup and the other area meetups, and it's free. And there's pizza. So do feel free to join us.
Excellent. Jonathan, how do we get a hold of you?
Oh, you find me on the internet, on Twitter at Jonathan Denwood. Go to the WP-Tonic Facebook page. You find all the videos of the conversations that we have on there. Our YouTube channel. I think we've got getting close to 200 or something. Getting close to getting on there, aren't we, John? And
Yep.
And you could email me at jonathan@wp-tonic.com with any suggestions about guests or a subject that you want us to cover. We love people suggesting possible people to interview or subjects we should cover, because surprise, folks, sometimes it's hard to find new subjects to talk about, even for us, John, isn't it?
It can be.
There you go.
You can find me at my website, which is lockdowndesign.com. You can follow me on Twitter, lockdown_, and my Facebook page, Lockdown Design. For the WP Tonic, we're saying peace out and get your dose. Okay, so if anybody's hanging around for bonus content, this is it.
Yeah, we can. No, Jackie, it wasn't that. I can actually. I've forgotten the title of it. It's the one with it's got 2 clown faces. We're not exactly.
Use rule editor.
That's it. Yeah, that's the one I use.
Yes,
And
they're not clown faces. They're theatrical masks.
Theatrical mask. Yeah.
Kabuki.
Kabuki. That's right. And he's been supporting that for donkey's years, hasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, that's been around a long time. But
they're juggalos from back in the day.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was. That's what I thought of as a possible subject for us. That I don't think we've done image and gallery plugins.
That's a great one.
Yes, great one actually. Yeah.
So we might want to put that on the calendar for the panel.
Put it on the calendar.
So Adam, how do you actually choose the subjects that you're going to be covering in your videos? How do you get a lot of feedback at all about what you should be covering?
Oh yes.
Oh yes.
Yes, I tell you, I have this YouTube tool called TubeBuddy. I don't know if you guys have TubeBuddy. It's to manage the comments and all that, and I try to respond to everybody's comment. Eventually, I'll respond if people ask for things. I also participate a lot in Facebook groups, so you'll see me in just about every WordPress Facebook group, primarily the ones about page builders. So I'm in the Elementor, the Beaver Builder Facebook group, but all kinds of things come up. And I'm also in Lee's Facebook group, WP Innovator Facebook group. I like the discussions that go on there. So there's never actually a shortage, and I also have a lot of developers asking me to review their products, and I can't review things I know are going to be bad. But I will review the stuff that I'm pretty sure are going to be good. Like I just did a in-depth review on Give. And it, gives the WordPress guys, and I've been wanting to do that for a while. It ended up being a half hour, but it's totally worth it, to get them some exposure for that.
Oh, they're a great crew actually, and we've had the CEO on the show, and a couple of other people of their team, and they're all great developers, quality people, aren't they, John?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a great plugin, actually. You chose a good one there. The quality of support, the code is top notch.
And the free version of it is fully functional, as long as you just want PayPal, if you want some other processors. But it's pretty amazing what you can do. But on the topic of a topic of discussion, something that I've been thinking a lot about is the role that themes are going to play in the next 12 to 24 months. Because I think WordPress themes are going to be like dinosaurs. They're going out. I think they're going out. I think everything's going to be done with plugins. Page builders now are taking over theme responsibilities with Beaver Themer, and there's other things coming out where everything's done in your page builder. I really think that WordPress themes might become less important. Well, they already are becoming less important.
I don't know.
It will be interesting to see what happens there. I mean, it's because there's still these top selling themes that have a lot of plugins wrapped into them and stuff and I wonder how people who are used to having a theme that's more than a theme are going to make a transition. I do think it is really interesting about stuff like Beaver Themer, and that the nature of a theme might change, that people will be more focused on creating themes that are easy to integrate with a page builder, as you still kind of have to have something there. If you're working with Beaver Themer, you have to kind of have something to start out with that it creates
Yes.
things on top of. So that will, and on the other side of things, I have a lot of clients who have custom built sites, and so it's not like they're going to be, swapping in a WordPress theme. They have something that's built to do exactly what they need. And the next time around, they're going to want a whole, custom redesign that they work on with the designers. So, it may be that there is a type of theme that's going to become a lot less popular, or that the nature of themes is going to change. But I think unless WordPress actually changes its core structure in a drastic way, which they never do, some kind of theme is still going to be there.
No. I think you will still have to have a theme, of course, but the importance of the theme is going away because the page builder market's already matured, and it's in its infancy, in my opinion, and they're perfect tools to design all of your website. That's why I guess the topic could be disruptive things that are coming to WordPress. And I find this is a real disruptive thing that's going to cause a lot of people to redefine how they've been defining things. Like, how do you define a theme now? It's the lines are getting all blurred when with tools like Beaver Themer, and there's other ones that are coming out that I'm already aware of, but they're under wraps. I think it's disruptive. Obviously, whenever something disrupts, you still have, 100 million websites that are going to still be on the old way of doing things. But over time, things moving forward could be different.
Well, I kind of take a middle road, Adam. It's a bit like your opening statement at the beginning of the show. I really think it depends on the user type. There are a group of users which, because we're dealing with WordPress and the web, might be millions of people, which is a sizable group that want feel they're capable. They haven't exactly got the coding chops to do it, but with a page builder, it gives them the bit. Then they feel they've got the design and marketing knowledge to develop something, and that looks reasonable because they've got more time than money, and or that they just want total control. But then there's a whole group of people that really do not want to bother with this. Or there's another group that and know they haven't got great design knowledge or taste, but they just want to buy a decent theme, but they still want the ability to move things around without having to hire a developer to move the image from left to right, or to have things in three horizontal rows. So I think there's all different kind of levels, really, Adam.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have clients who are like, I have no idea what I want it to look like. I know that I don't like it the way it looks now. You know, I can't like do something that you think looks good. I trust you. And you know, the people who are just not at all visual, it's not even that they're like not trained in design. They really, it's not how they think. They're never gonna do that, and they don't want to be, you know, messing with a page builder. So, you know, I think there's going to be a range, and we will see like, oh, the most popular type of theme, you know, that may really change. But I think we need to, you know, WordPress is going to need to be able to cater to
it's very
that
hard.
range.
It's very hard to tell what's going to happen, because in some ways, even I'm not I've just been observing it slightly, and I might be wrong here, but I think Beaver Build in a way is re-energized the Genesis community. I see a lot of new people entering the Genesis framework, and they're utilizing Beaver Builder and some other Genesis tools, and it seems to some level re-energized it with new people. I don't know if that's correct, but that's what I sense.
There are a lot of people who use both of them together, and I suspect it may be because, you know, Genesis was always a developer's framework. The thing about the framework is that it makes it easier to do development because they have a lot of additional hooks and, you know, action and filter hooks. But you know, they never had like a ton of theme options, or if you wanted to do something without being a developer, you basically had to buy some kind of third-party thing, like, you know, Dynamic, or there's another sort of styling plugin, which I hate those things. And you know, in this case, but if they put something like Beaver Builder on top of it, they can have, you know, a plugin where it's a pretty good plugin in terms of, you know, not just leaving a mess of shortcodes in your site if you turn it off. And then it gives them, you know, more layout control that they don't have to have developer skills for. I never got the sense that the Genesis community was exactly de-energized, and I've been involved with it fairly heavily for quite a while. I mean, I think most of the people who've been sort of the big enthusiasts, they haven't exactly gone away.
Yeah, I utilised the wrong word there. I meant like a new user
I think
influx, you know.
There is an influx of people who are not the developer types who were the main, you know, folks who were keen on Genesis before. Yeah,
because I know why you said that to me, because there's always been a really hardcore, very vocal, very passionate developer group that was still very active. But I just feel like with Beaver Builder, a new influx of people that are from a slightly different background have entered it. That's what I sensed.
I would say that's true.
Yeah. That's what I meant, really. But I do agree with you, Adam. You know, I've said what I said, but but I do agree with you that it's really hard to tell where it will go. If it was that easy, there'd be a lot more rich people, wouldn't there?
Yes, I always have to laugh when somebody's interviewing me for something and asks, you know, where I see these things in 5 years, or like I have no idea. Technology changes in ways we can't possibly predict in very short periods of time, and I can't even see that it's much use for me to guess. You know, my job is to stay on top of where it does actually go, in order to be as useful as possible to my clients.
There we go.
It's a good topic to discuss, though. So I think we already did. So we just did the episode. We can slice this and do it.
Yeah,
here's your episode for next week. It's already done.
Yep, definitely. I think that's, you know, a great take. I think that Beaver Themer and tools like that are really going to change how people build themes. I think there's still going to be, in my opinion, I still think there's going to be a place for people who do custom themes. But where I see like Beaver Builder and Beaver Themer and tools like that replacing is, I see it replacing like the theme forest option. That's where I see it displacing. I think those type of things are going to diminish as Beaver Builder grows.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Actually, I think some of the top themes on the market, their market, you know, these Swiss Army knife themes, which the WordPress community really, well, the developer, the more the more pro user communities despise, really. But they're
for good reason.
And for good reason, but they are some of the biggest sellers there. So there's a contradiction. I think they're going to be, I think their market is going to be disrupted by these page builders to a certain degree. I think John is spot on there, but I might be, but who knows? You know, what do you think, Adam?
Well, I mean, when you have, for example, Elementor is not even out for a year, and they've already hit over 100,000 active installations. That's lightning quick to get up that fast. And they're doing some extremely innovative things. And it's a real hot competition right now, especially Beaver Builder. I think Robbie was on a podcast recently where he disclosed that their combined active installations is over 500,000. It's pretty, I mean, we're talking short periods of time here, really short periods of time. You know, one of the themes I really like is called Generate Press. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of this theme called Generate Press. It's a free theme, and there's an add-on package, and it's developed by a guy named Tom. And I've been talking to Tom for a while, and I said, Tom, you really need to brand this thing as the theme that just works with every page builder, because people are preferring to work with page builders. They really are. It's the hottest thing. I mean, we can all disclose here. You know, I'm an affiliate marketer. I'm an affiliate with Beaver Builder, and I get an email notification whenever someone buys something. And I can't even begin to tell you how many email notifications I got since Beaver Themer's been out. And it's only been a week and a half. I mean, we're talking a couple mortgage payments here. That's how many people are excited about this thing and are actually taking action on it. So, I mean, I think things are changing. But my advice has always been, pick one theme, master it. Don't go buying a dozen different themes. Just pick one theme, stick with it, master it, and pick one that you can do anything with. But that's where I see the page builder hitting your headers and footers, archive pages, custom post types as really like the new frontier, so to speak.
I think we're in things now on Facebook and our video. We seem to have lost John. He seems to have disappeared.
Yes, he's vanished.
Yeah, maybe that
sucked into a black hole.
Maybe that last column Adam we couldn't handle. Who knows? Let's end the live video, and we'll see you next week, folks. So stop that and.